Hello, this lesson introduces diagonal lines. Diagonal lines are slanted lines and they make artwork look busy. So we're going to learn about how diagonal lines look in different artworks. But first we're going to go over some vocabulary. So our vocabulary words are diagonal line, a slanted line that moves from one corner to corner, and zigzag. Zigzags are diagonal lines that connect. So what kinds of different diagonal lines and zigzag lines do you see in the picture to the right? So if you take a close look, we see a bunch of diagonal lines going from the bottom all the way to the right top. They all seem like they're going in the same direction. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some examples of diagonal lines in this video.
Oblique lines look like this slide. Or like this skateboarding ramp. Wow, so fast!
Okay, so if you notice, the video called diagonal lines oblique lines, so those are the same as diagonal lines. Okay, so let's take a look at these two paintings. So this painting right here was created by an artist named Jasper Johns, who's an American artist, and he created it in 1981, and it is called Between the Clock and the Bed. And this painting right here was created by an American artist named Sylvia Plemick Mangold in 1991, and it's called The Elm Tree Summer. So if we look at the artwork on this slide, the diagonal lines make your eyes move all around the page. Take a minute to study both of the works of art. Where do you see diagonal lines? So I'll give you a moment to think about that. Okay, so in this image, we see diagonal lines all around the painting. We see them going from here to the middle to all the way over here. So this painting is made up of diagonal lines. But if we take a look at this tree painting, we see that the bottom starts off with not so many diagonal lines. And as we move our eyes up the trees, the diagonal lines start to form in all the branches. Now I want you to take a minute to look all around your house or the room that you're in. Where do you see diagonal lines? So I see diagonal lines all around the room I'm in currently, and I see them on the lamp that I have. I see them on a vase of flowers that I have. I also see them on a painting that I have. So there's all sorts of things going on with diagonal lines in the room I'm in. Now, let's take a minute to think about how these artworks make us feel. Do the colors of these paintings make you feel any certain way? I'll give you a minute to take a look at these paintings and think about that. So for me, when I look at these paintings, I'm going to start off with this one. I feel very calm when I look at it because the colors are very peaceful and calm and muted. They're not bright and in your face. Now, when I look at this one, it makes me feel really excited because all the bright colors make me feel happy and they really draw me in. Now, do the diagonal lines make you feel any sort of way? For me, the diagonal lines on this one make me feel really jumpy and energetic because there's so much movement going on. And when I look at this painting right here, it makes me feel really small because it makes me feel like I have to look up and everything around me is very big. Now I want you to take a moment to look at some similarities and differences from these paintings. So what things are the same and what are different? So some things I notice is that the colors in some parts of this one, so the greens and blues and yellows are the same as the painting on here. That's something that's very similar to me. And another thing is that this painting contains lines that go from the bottom left to the top right, just like the tree branches here, as well as the bottom right to the top left, like the tree branches up here. A difference that I notice is that for this painting, we can recognize that it's a tree. So that means it's objective. We know what it is already, and there's no need to guess what the artist is trying to portray. And for this one, it's non-objective, so it's abstract. We don't really know what this is an image of. All we can see is that there's lines and many colors as well. Using diagonal lines. So as we've learned already, diagonal lines are slanted. They give artwork a busy feeling. Now let's look at zigzag lines. Zigzag lines are made by connecting diagonal lines. So if we look here, we have one diagonal line with another diagonal line, and they just keep adding up to create a zigzag line. Tree branches can be diagonal lines, and a bolt of lightning can create zigzag lines. What are some other ways diagonal or zigzag lines occur in the world? So I'll give you a minute to think about that. So I noticed zigzag lines in the grass and how they grow. They can all be at different lengths, so they start to form like a zigzag form. I noticed diagonal lines in some mountains. The lines of the mountains are slanted, and sometimes they can even look like zigzag lines. I also notice diagonal lines on leaves. So if we look closely at leaves, there's little lines that look diagonal and slanted. So there's diagonal lines all around us if we look closely. Now I want you to practice making diagonal lines using your body. Pretend you are a tree. Your arms will make the branches. Hold up your arms away from your body. Make them look like diagonal lines. Now spread your fingers apart to make thin branches. So you're a growing strong tree. Think about what the sun does for plants. They provide energy for plants to grow. And without sunlight, there would be no life on earth. So plants need sunlight. So practice how a grown tree looks like if it's gotten a lot of sunlight. And then practice what it would look like if there wasn't any sunlight around. Now I want you to brainstorm ideas for a tree that you could create. So as you can see, there are many different kinds of trees. And I want you to create sketches of a tree that you would like to create for your project. Once you have done that, you will create a tree, and I want you to take a look at these instructions here. So how could you show tree branches that grew in many different directions? Think about how a tree changes as it grows. So it starts off with a big tree trunk, and then it expands into smaller branches. Then you're going to paint a tree trunk with a thick line for your trunk, and then paint thin and thick branches. And then you're going to add leaves. So if it's a different season, the leaves may look different. So you can think about what kind of tree you'd like to do and at what season. One scientific thing we can think about with trees is that temperature affects things chemically and physically. So leaves change color because they are hungry. So when seasons change, the days get shorter, there's less sunshine, and the weather gets colder when it's winter. So when this happens, it's harder for the chlorophyll in the leaves to make food needed to stay green. So instead of making more food, the leaves start using food they have stored during this time of year. So chlorophyll makes plants and leaves green. So once all the food is used up that they've stored away, the leaves turn brown and they die and fall to the ground. And that's how come during the winter there's no leaves in the trees. So think about how your leaves would look like in your picture depending on what season you would. Then you can add some grass or even snow all around, some clouds, a sun, some birds, flowers, whatever you'd like to do to fill your page and make it full and complete. So if you don't have any paint at home, that's okay. You may utilize anything that you have. And remember, we have all different kinds of trees around the world that you can think about and work with. So don't forget to sketch out any ideas that you may have. Now, while you're creating, I want you to think about these art criticism questions. So describe. Do the diagonal lines in your picture make your eyes move all around your picture? So remember the painting that we looked at that had all those diagonal lines that made me feel all jumpy and energetic. So does your picture portray that same feeling? Then analyze. What kinds of lines does your tree have? Does it have diagonal lines, straight lines, horizontal lines, curvy lines? So it will most definitely have some diagonal lines if you're creating branches. And interpret. What season did you show? How can you tell? So if you were to paint a tree in the winter, would it have any leaves? How would you let us know that it was winter time in your picture? And then decide, do the diagonal lines in your picture make your eyes move all around? So I actually had to go back and change this first question because I realized this question and the last one were the same. So this question is actually supposed to say, describe, does your tree have leaves? So depending on what season you choose to show in your picture, will it have leaves or will it not have leaves? So I want you to go ahead and create your tree, and don't forget to submit your. Now to submit your assignment, don't forget you have to go to the assignments tab on our Teams page. You're going to click on the assignment name. So for this week, it's Diagonal Lines Tree Project. Okay, you should get a class notebook page that looks like this, and you will answer each question at the top here, the 4 questions. So, does your tree have leaves? What kinds of lines does your tree have? What season did you show? How can you tell? And do the diagonal lines in your picture make your eyes move all around? Once you have answered those questions, you will submit a photo of your completed project following these instructions below. So you will click in the area below number 8, click Insert, click Picture, click Camera. Then you will take a picture of your project. Okay, then you will click Insert. Wait until your photo loads. Then you will click Close, and then you will click Turn In, where it should be right here on the right-hand side. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to help you.